All right, everyone. So today we are going to go over two Janky Premiere to 2 decks that I really love. Some of you have played against me with these before in various fashions. I've been playing this deck around kind of 2 years. So I'm going to show you how it works and kind of explain kind of the growth. So basically, um, I like to tinker. I like to have fun. And it's not always about playing the most powerful deck possible. A lot of the times, for me personally, my enjoyment is saying, how can I make certain cards work well and do something surprising and interesting? So, Imperial Occupation normally associated with operatives and flipping and things like that. And um, one really cool thing about Coruscant is its text right here is that if you control the Star Destroyer, it's force train +1 here, but opponent may not deploy rebels to related sites. So what does that mean? Well, it means that if you start with Imperial Occupation for Coruscant, and you have a Star Destroyer at the system, and I control it, then it's very hard for the opponent to come there. They can come there with an alien, so maybe like someone like Melas could kind of come there and kind of bother you, or maybe kind of like a Lando, maybe a Lando with a blaster pistol, but kind of annoying people like Obi-Wan with Saber, or annoying people like Leia, you know, or things like like TK, 422. Well, he's a rebel, so yeah, he's a spy, but he can't deploy there if you occupy and control the system. And so another cool text that initially attracted me was this saying that if you have a non-unique Imperial leader at the same related site, force train +1 here. Now, there's only one non-unique Imperial leader, and this is this A New Hope guy. Now, his stats are bad. His destiny is bad. He costs 3. He really should cost 2 or 1. But he is a leader. And so if he's at this site here, he will add 1 to the drains. But if you have something like expand the empire, and so what you do is you'd kind of have this site in the middle here, and that way if your kind of imperial commanders anywhere there, then you would kind of do a force drain of +1 all 3 of these sites potentially. And so what you want to do, generally speaking, is you want to deploy Star Destroyer here ASAP, deploy some commanders here, and then you would also try to deploy to another system. So my initial build, I had Gaul, and the idea behind Gaul was that, well, it is retrievable via mobilization points. So you get this into your hand. So you deploy 1 Star Destroyer to Coruscant, and then later on you deploy something, another Star Destroyer or Zuckuss or whatever, to Gaul, or if your opponent had another system, whatever, and then you would be able to deploy your beautiful, we're in attack position now, Admiral's Order. So the cool thing is that although you have to occupy a battleground system in order to deploy this, once you have it out, it does its job. And so even though even if you don't occupy this later, if they kind of kill off your Star Destroyer there, as long as you're still controlling, or occupying, Coruscant, then this text applies. So what you try to do is you try to get 3 different commanders each here. Cool thing about Mahdi is that if you look at his text, it says Senior Navy Commander. He counts as Commander 2, so he can be Commander to give you ping damage. Commander Igar is a Commander, and the cool thing about Piet is that he can grab an Admiral's Order or Commander. So often you want him to grab we're in attack position now, but if you already have that, then you can kind of grab someone else. So my initial idea was that, yeah, I want to have my generals kind of on the ground here. I wanted to try to, take advantage of, kind of Tempest 1 with Igar and getting extra battle destiny at things like Dark Collaboration. So I would take advantage of having a normally terrible Taji or kind of a mediocre Mahdi and be able to get extra battle destiny in addition to kind of Imperial Command if one of my 2 admirals, Piet, was there, or the other guy here, which he's not here, would be Shirano, to kind of take advantage of this. And so that was the plan. I'd have things like Presence of the Force. In some versions of this, I had, kind of the Emperor and overseeing it personally. and just really trying to maximize the kind of the force drains by myself. Deploy to Coruscant, leave alone. I'm not interested in battling you. I want to do my own thing. I want to drain you to death and have fun with that. I did have some initial issues with Revolution, so I did have kind of like Evader. I did kind of have Crush Rebellion to get Evader. I tried to minimize the footprint for the opponent. So my first version of this, I didn't have like docking bays, but tried to have lots of Twixes and just tried to kind of do my thing. Now, over time, I tweaked this deck. I had certain issues or problems. It's really slow because you need a lot of force. And so eventually, kind of, I did give in and kind of some later builds. I would start with, things like, Imperial Arrest Order. I would give myself kind of eventually one docking bay, eventually two docking bays. And I did give in. I kind of gave up on Gaul and I just said, well, I'll get mobilization points to get myself Executor. Then I'll try to get to Fondor, cost less 10. I will do like the pull chain with Piet, getting Marajek to deploy Battleground Systems that way. Yeah, I want to deploy one Star Destroyer here ASAP, but what I really want to do is I want to be able to kind of drain fast multiple places and kind of use these Star Destroyers, other than kind of like turn one kind of thing. And eventually I tweaked it some more because just trying to be more flexible. So I did things like always thinking with your stomach, added Sharon to be a little bit quicker, added Imperial Decree to be really effective against kind of EBO, and things with kind of force drain modifiers that would really hurt you. Try to add some tech here with Overwhelm. That way, if you have someone like, Captain Han Solo and, just doing nasty things to you of just adding, extra Battle Destiny and redrawing and trying to have some way that if they don't have a weapon or Jedi, you can just use this card, with all your Star Destroyers or heavy ships and your commanders here and to try to eliminate them, just straight to use battle. So some more tech. This is a janky deck. It will lose. So like I mentioned, Captain Han Solo kind of deploying there can give you trouble. I mean, the really issue you have here is you have spies. So you have a light side spy. They will give you trouble. So what they'll do is they'll use someone like Blount, and they'll use Blount to kind of, deploy with kind of, his Tala 2 here. And then if he deploys to Coruscant, then all of a sudden they can deploy like, Obi-Wan or Jedi Knight Luke, and they can harass you. They can make your life difficult if they make it to Coruscant. Additionally, of course, they could like deploy to a system here and then move over. So that's why I try to give them, Kashyyyk at the latest. That way they would have to have, something like, Korlag or something to get over to kind of where you are and be able to move over. So it's certainly not invincible. I mean, there's things like Taw's Caw, or 4 ability aliens can get there. If they have their own docking bay, so if they have their own spaceport docking bay, they can get this and they can docking bay transfer to Coruscant and bother you. So no, it's not the most powerful deck, but it uses something no one else does to do ping damage, which is where attack position battle, which pretty much no other deck does. It takes advantage of the fact that in this era of the game, it's basically rebels that are decent. And so when you start getting kind of later on into kind of more powerful aliens, kind of like, Dash Rendar or, whatever, he wouldn't be in Mr. 2, he'd kind of be over here. So if you kind of get people like Dash Rendar, it kind of ruins it. Whenever you get things like Palace Raiders, these little guys also, frustrate you. They can deploy easily their ships and overwhelm you. And so obviously, certainly once you get down to kind of like having like Qui-Gon, yeah. So once you have people like Qui-Gon deploying, it doesn't really work because he deploys there and he just beats you up. So it really only works well the PDS2 era. As soon as you get things like Unite or Unita, excuse me, here, well, all of a sudden you're extremely punished for daring to have generic sites. Now, to be honest, these are some of the most tamest generic sites, but Unita absolutely kills this concept. So this deck really only works for PDS2. It's certainly not the most powerful dark side deck, but it is fun and has a novel way to win. And so let's take a look at a few games and kind of see how I did. Refresh these just so that you guys can see how we did. So, all right, let's play this one first. All right, so this is a good example of a Mind We Have Learned deck. And this is kind of one of my first versions where I did not use Imperial Arrest. No, I did. Okay, never mind. This is still in between states. You'll see some mixed cards between the couple versions. Playing games like this did kind of disincentivize me to this guy because the first Jedi test makes your life difficult. It cancels your force drain bonuses. So you would need, something like Failure at the Cave. Not light side, something like Failure of the Cave, simply because when they get to Jedi Test 1 Great War, it just when they get Jedi Test 1, it just really hits the wind out of your scales. Suddenly this site doesn't help you. You're back to drains of 1. Suddenly they can do something like projection of a Skywalker, and they can make your drain 0. So you're really dependent on this kind of only in your site. So could potentially do this, just my Will Learn is kind of annoying for this deck. So I am deploying. I opt to deploy Emperor Palpatine here first, just because it's hard to clear him off. He has immunity attrition, so it's not a big deal. And then, generally speaking, your first goal is to deploy to Coruscant with the starter destroyer. That way, they can't harass you with their EPPs or strong rebels. So you can deploy Yoda. That's fine. Deploy Daughter Skywalker. Going to try to start that Jedi test, which I do not want. I will deploy there and draw up. And he's going to train Destiny. So luckily for me, he fails, but he's adding more sites. It's going to make it easier on his end. And I'm just going to get my stuff present the force. I'm going to try to pile on the drains as fast as I possibly can, given that, of course, I still have to pay 3, which is annoying. I do want to get a ship as quickly as possible, which I finally found. Deploy to Gaul and overcome battle plan. So now I deploy that. Now I can deploy attack position now. Now I can start doing my ping damage. And so I would do 2 ping damage plus Palpatine at the moment, assuming I don't get disrupted. And there's my Expand the Empire. I am just trying to do everything I can to do drain and damage before Great Warrior goes off. Overseeing it personally, yeah, I'm really trying to stick it to it as much as I can. He's going to do it, and unfortunately for me, he will succeed. So this card ends up being useless. This card's going to be useless, but is what it is. We wanted to try. He has a huge hand now. And I am going to drain here, and we're going to see some beautiful, beautiful ping damage of 2. Now the thing is, of course, is that in kind of a competitive mode, generally speaking, search and destroy is a better card. However, of course, with this type of deck, I can just occupy these sides. It doesn't matter if the opponent goes somewhere else. So, it is a little bit more sustainable just to have this. So now I'm going to have 3 commanders, do triple ping damage. So he is deploying Tycho with Wedge's ship because he's trying to get there, but I barriered him. And he opted to deploy that, battle me there. He probably should have battled me here, but he really wanted to move. I think that was probably a mistake. Maybe not. He may not have had good enough force. Who knows? He occupies the site with Luke, and of course the text of this is each battleground your general commander controls. So I only have 1 commander kind of controlling that. only do one ping damage only, but it's still ping damage. So I'm stacking up my guys here. But yeah, you get rid of Tycho, they're in trouble. He only has so many ships he has spy pilots with. So I end up getting lucky, drawing Battle Destiny to kind of clear Luke. I lose Mara because I really want to do ping damage, and I value that more than that guy at the moment. And there's Lando trying to wreck my day, but what you gonna do? Trying to reduce my ping damage again, but that's fine. And I guess he figured that he can't really defend Lando that well. It's a matter of time before I disrupt him. So that was a good game. Let's see another example. So let's do this one. Let's refresh this. All right. So this is against an EBO from Carbon Leaf. Miss Carbon Leaf, who should come back. It's fun to play against. Always a good sport. Yeah, and if you're facing EBO, you want to start with Imperial Decree. That's just common sense. That's one issue with EBO, is that if you have Imperial Decree and you're prepared for it, it can really just shut down the deck relatively easily. So yeah, I'm going for the chain, to get Fondor out, and the goal is to deploy Executor soon after deploy Avenger. You probably want to deploy Avenger first. Then you can deploy, Executor a future turn. And you always want to deploy Executor and then kind of move it over as soon as you can. And I'm opting to deploy Marjade now because I want greater drains quickly. Yes, the commander would be there better, but I'd rather have a drain of 3 of these sites first rather than later. And you also, of course, you want to satisfy Honor the Jedi. That way you can drain a Coruscant without problems. Independence with more X-Wings. I'm just going to drain as much as I can. He has 0 cards, so moving over to Coruscant has a very low risk of being destroyed. And we should still go for more drains, of course. Battle Order will help me stick it to the opponent a little bit. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, he has Echo Base operations, but because I control Coruscant, that counts as a system, right? Any one planet, 2 site system, I control 3 planet sites and 3 systems at the moment. So controlling this with a Star Destroyer is key because it helps satisfy it. So he's going to move over, try to disrupt me, which is fine. And he has Incom Corporation, who just 2 X-Wings will draw Battle Destiny, but I'm not really terribly worried about him. I am winning the drain race at the moment. And my Monica is successful. And now I can start doing some ping damage with attack position now. And also, this thing's cool. Like, one, each pilot deploys -1. So because this guy, shuttles to and from free, it makes sense to deploy him here and then shuttle down and then shuttle Mara up later. So that's just a cool, fun thing you get to do with that Admiral's Order and that guy. And we're just moving out of the way, making sure we control enough systems. And him draining for 2 a turn is not sufficient to stop me. Masterful move, I can track that 2, and that is going to help me here. Yeah, and I forgot that Neva doesn't stack, so the opponent lets me revert. Thank you, Carmen. And I can just initiate a battle, try to grab a guy, and then, mate this over. So yeah, attack position now, doing 3 force. This thing is doing its job. And that's it. So GG. So let's see another game here. All right. This one's versus Red 5000, a very rare Red 5000 playing hidden base. He very rarely plays light side at this point in time. So it's an old game of him actually playing hidden base, which is a true honor. So this version, I'm still using Gaul, still using the Imperial Commanders, and trying to just make this work. So he's using an X-Wing deck, and I'm just trying to deploy my guys, just trying to Star Destroyer, and then just being able to drain and do my stuff. So at this point in time, yeah, drained for 2 at the street. Yeah, so I do have Expand the Empire doing so because I have a commander at all 3 of these sites. All 3 of these sites at the moment are really doing the job. You do want the commander here because he's a leader and he gives power forward +1, so you might as well have him there, especially if you don't need Marriage to deploy battleground systems, which you can't in this version of the deck anyway. So he's at head base, he's moving his guys. And a Monarch, and that's a big ouch. And now I can do attack position now, and then we will start getting a ping of 3 here. In addition to the drains of 2, 4, and 5 because of the -1 projection. So we are doing our job very quickly. He will get some retrieval, but it will not be enough for him, unfortunately. Yeah, and then he concedes because he would lose another 3 to this. So anyway, thanks for the game. GG on that one. Let's watch another one. So had the benefit of having a lot of games. This one's versus Dark Deal versus his Prophet. And in this particular version, I tried a disarmed version. I tried a Dr. Evazan with Mara Jade. This one is risky. I did get lucky in this game. It could have easily turned sideways. The major issue is that, Prophet mains decks almost always use a weapon levitation, so Mara Jade usually has her weapon being stolen. Very, very often. Which is the way it is. So deploy 2 starships. Now Luke wants to battle, tries to return Evazan, draws a 1, fails. And then he'll use Swing and the Miss. He only subtracted 1 from my destinies. But I draw 4. And I draw a 6. So that's still a 9. So I still hit him and then Evazan. So that was lucky for him. His destinies failed, mine succeeded. He did not have a weapon limitation, so that delays him a little bit. He's going to draw 50 million cards, try to get the cards he needs, plus have tunnel vision, so he'll have access to most of his deck if he can get away with it. But I have Masterful Move and I Monarch I'm on like a big chunk of his hand. So that buys me some time. Okay, lots of force. Deploy Forlom here just to try to help, keep the audience chamber as long as possible. And next turn I can employ my attack position now. Luke's going to battle me again with friends, and he will succeed, returning Evazan this time. And there's Chewy's because I don't want him to shoot me and hit me. So I was worried about not hitting, so I hit Chewy. I did. Would have hit Luke too, but yeah, it is what it is. And I didn't draw high enough to eliminate Luke. And he will free Han and get 5 force back. Start my Forlom. I'll do some drains in the meantime. Attack position now will be my friend whenever I can use it. Battle order will help slow him down. And it's time to battle again. Get my Mara back. And of course, he still has tricks, and Evazan's going back to hand again. Good thing Arden draws Destiny out of zone. I am going to take a big chunk of damage here. But it is what it is. And he's going to disarm this guy too. Classic double disarm for profit. So he's going to try to bring the ping damage on me, which is what profit is designed to do. I'm going to drain as fast as I can. So the pings are going to start increasing. Unfortunately, my own battle order is hurting me now, but it is what it is. And just continuing with our drain race. Fly Dr. Evazan because I'm suspecting he probably with one card doesn't have a lot. It's 4 force, but that's okay. Just drain. And we'll battle. Just get him even lower. That's it. That's the game. So then we had one more to show. In this case is an MBO deck piloted by Teacher. MBO legitimately is a really poor objective. It's really, you can't, you only get one force from these sides. You can't revolution or force drain. It really, really potentially messes it. Like you really only get your benefit once you blow up the Death Star, and then you kind of, get, kind of a drain bonus and whatever. So, um, yeah, it's difficult. It can do a lot of damage. It can surprise people, but it's hard to do. Base issue, of course, that Presence of the Force also lets you go to Yavin quickly and just attack them. Something that EBO doesn't let you do. So we played this game. Uh, yeah, in this particular case, I deployed there and then moved so I could do more attack position now. Just get that down. And he's going to Lost the Wilderness me. And I'm going to try to find my guy. He's going to try very hard to blow up the Death Star as soon as he can. So I deploy Mara Jade, deploy Vader, and just trying to cause chaos here. Keep Vader because Saber is really valuable to knock away people. And so now he's able to deploy Luke. Sorry, not Luke, Tycho and R2D2. Yeah, that Yavin War Room hurt him. So unfortunately now I can pounce and I can attack him back, and his ship is not immune to attrition, and therefore he knows that his chance to blow up the Death Star is kind of gone. So that was that game. All right, so another really fun deck I have here is my Audience Chamber Moisture Farmer deck. Why is this fun? Well, simply because it can win, it can compete. It's still janky. It will still, lose plenty of matches, but it's very thematic. So you have moisture farmers here who deploy -1 to exterior Tatooine sites, and what do we have here? So, we start the audience chamber. So basically, except the audience chamber, which you don't really need to deploy moisture farmers to, every single one of these sites at Tatooine is a -1, so it costs -1. You get Tessic here, and basically these guys all deploy for free because they deploy -1 and adds 1 to force drains for these guys. Then you have Arden Krell, where if there's a hydroponic station or evaporator, these premier cards, which are basically if you get this card, you get an extra force drawn in hand, and if you have this on the table, you get a second card. They also add to force drain, so very cool. And so, yeah, this guy adds, 1 to force drain for each of those. This guy adds 1 force drain for each non-unique alien. So you can really pack the force drains very, 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 very quickly. This deck, we have a home 1, basically as kind of your space support. Sometimes you need to go to home 1 because you have, something like battle plan, battle order. So if that happens, you are able to compete there. People don't always suspect that you have this. So if you have someone like Zuckuss around, you need ability 7, you can either use, Mr. Arleal, because he's ability 3, or you can use Luke, potentially, to help you there. Are there things that beat this? Of course, Monarch ruins this card's day. Battle Order kind of ruins it, makes it hard. This deck, if you wanted to improve this deck, you might want to try to add a spy. Maybe a Bothan spy would be a good idea. Maybe add a couple more mains. There might be some ways to do it. Farm here is nice because if you deploy this, you can use this to deploy hydroponics or evaporator. So you can still have Arden Krell at the audience chamber. This could go to Raltier. And as long as you didn't draw one of these into your hand, you can deploy this directly to the farm there, and you could, drain on Raltier. You're facing against Raltier operations, which is a very, very powerful, probably overpowered deck in PDS2. So, yeah, no, it's fun, and yeah, basically this deck doesn't really, belong in other areas. Could you play this before PDS2? I guess you could. it's really convenient being able to start the audience chamber and have staging errors and insurrection, because you can deploy a farmer to home one, and then if Tessik's out, you can basically force drain plus that an additional force drain. Could you do the other aliens? You could. These guys are just nice, of course, because they get your hydroponic stations and they get your evaporators quickly. You can search for them, which means you can kind of pile on the drains quicker. But by the time you kind of get to Jabba's Palace sealed deck, it's just not as cool. Because as soon as you have there, you kind of have your objectives, and then like agents of the court here. Well, works with alien defined species. Unfortunately, they decided that moisture farmer isn't a species. That's annoying, because this guy is about the moisture farmer, so you can't use this moisture farmers. So, once this come along, if you really want a non-unique alien deck that takes advantage of Tessic, you probably want a different species. Because moisture farmers don't apply. So, but in this era, moisture farmers, they still work. They're cool. They're thematic. I remind you that Luke is a moisture farmer. He's been a moisture farmer most of his life, longer than he's been a rebel pilot. So don't forget. But let's see some games, and let's kind of see how it went. I'll give you guys some examples here. So this particular game against Del Webb before his name change, and you guys can kind of see what he did before he was DWBT, DWLT. So ISB Tractor Beam, trying really hard to get rid of our force drain bonuses. We don't like that, so it's a drain to see if we can do our business quicker than him. In this particular case, I am somewhat lucky that I can go to the audience chamber relatively quickly. I have Mr. Krell already, and we can get our bonuses to drains relatively quickly here. I have dodge in my hand, so I am just assuming he can't attack me in two places or do too much damage. So off the bat, gonna get a drain of 3 total for the round. Gonna get my evaporators, hydroponic stations. This is a mistake. I probably should put the evaporator here, but I forgot. I wasn't thinking, but yeah, the evaporator would do even more damage here. This particular spot can be 3 with evaporator, 4 with this guy, and then with Tesla it can be 5. Generally speaking, you want to spread out your hydroponic stations and evaporators, but you could get a huge drain on Jungle of the Waste, and that's really fun. Hydroponic station there, and yeah, we are ready to stack our drains high. We have Tessic, we're happy. Leave 1 for a barrier. We'll take 1 damage, that's fine. And we are raring to go. So yeah, he deployed to Yavin 4 and moved there. To try to stop me, of course, my force drain bonuses are still active because he doesn't control 2 rebel base locations. So I'm still going to pack on. I get 2 bonus cards. This is fun. I'm going to use Obi-Wan. I think Ben Kenobi is fun to be as a defensive measure. Obi-Wan's lightsaber is probably more versatile, what you need, like getting rid of Emperor and things like that. The moisture farmers are 3 if you have inside serves you well, so you should be able to hit people like Vader, Emperor, Mara Jade, whatever as needed. But Ben is definitely fun to use and recycle your moisture farmers. If you suspect your opponent has limited ground forces, which I do, draw their fires. Definitely an advantage. So he's doing his space stuff. He will destroy my poor bonuses. But, it is what it is. So there goes my bonuses. For now. One cool thing is that I drew into the home one. So, I can actually use this brand new card I found. So opted to do some battle damage here because I didn't want to take extra. In hindsight, maybe I should have gone for this one, but you know, he could have just lost Marajek and get him back. So I don't know. But that's what I did. It's fine. So attack and move away. So I opted to keep my drain bonuses that turn. And now I get to drain for a bunch. So baiting him to attack me, stopping his drain. Well, I just kind of sprint and drain very quickly. But he just opted to deploy and not battle me, finish his plan. And I'm getting extra cards every turn. It pays for itself eventually. It's just real nice. I'm tracking the Destiny 5 that I did earlier to kind of eliminate the competition. And I'm just threatening a huge drain unless he occupies, controls Hoth and Yavin 4. So you can see why he wants to go here, because he wants to stop my drain bonuses, but that leaves him vulnerable. Trying to make it so I can't leave, but I have 2 Gix in my hand, or 2 Hujixes in my hand, and I can battle and lose my home one, and it'd be okay. And we're going to cause some hefty damage here. I'll battle here. I'll ping them for 1 from Draw Their Fire, and I'll lose with Grace with... now, unfortunately, I had to lose 3 because of I want that ship. But capture loss, lose effect, and almost lose 3/4, 5 the Falcon. So I have to lose 3/4, but that's okay. Gotta do what you gotta do. All right. So my drain bonuses are gone, but I'm still draining for a lot. We want over, so I'm draining for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that will be enough for next turn to win. So I have to go with a bang over here, I guess. And that's GG. So let's see another game. Now this game with Ponda Baba playing Court of the Vile Gangster. Fortunately, he, overrides my poor audience chamber first turn, but is what it is. So luckily I can deploy some docking bays as I need to. I can I get uh-oh early on, thankfully. And then I can get, Honor the Jedi out to prevent ping damage for a little while. So I got kind of lucky with my hand here. And our goal right now is to draw into Boshuda to prevent battles at the audience chamber as quickly as possible. So that is my goal. Just do that as quickly as possible, get both shoot in, which I did draw, which I also got lucky in that aspect. So I'm trying to thread drains everywhere. I do have a couple of Fujixes and a barrier, so I feel relatively safe. He's going to do some damage to me, but that's okay. Drawing into Luke via my evaporator hydroponic station combo is very fun. This is a mistake. I want an evaporator here, but oh well. Oh well. Opt to lose Luke because I want my moisture farmers to get there via nourish out of wind chimes. So it is okay. So I will deploy him there so I can move him later. And that's fine. Strike my nourish out of wind chimes means I can clear the site. And I can go back to trying to drain. And he concedes. Still has a decent amount of life force, but yeah, I'm just stacking the drains here very quickly. So GG Panda. So this is Jabobo. I thought that was just an example of just the drains being super fast, out interrupted. So he opted for a Wakilumi deck. He probably should have deployed the other kind of companion site, which makes the activation Kuat. He probably should have. But in this example, I'm just deploying quickly. I'm just going with my plan. And I'm just trying to drain as quickly as I possibly can. That's a drain of 2 early on. I have my evaporator there quickly and just get extra cards. I'm always going to be drawing 2 into hand directly, which now I get, taking the Java now, and I can get my guy later. So 3, 2, 2, 7. That's 7 damage on turn 3. Pretty darn good when you're not opposed. And I do the right thing this time. I put the evaporator here, so this is a natural drain of 3 and 4 with a moisture farmer. So it's going to be a very, very handsome drain there. I guess I forgot to deploy a guy here. Oh well. Or maybe it wasn't there. That's fine. He is trying to deploy his ties. He is trying to retrieve efficiently as much as he can. Unfortunately, it's just not going to be fast enough drains. Doesn't do enough damage. So drains are still big. Yeah, and that was a 4 gem on waste. So here was just huge. And now it's really bad. It's a drain of 3. This is a drain of 3. This is a drain of 3. That's 6. 8. This is a drain of 5. This is 13. And this is a drain of, yeah, this is a drain of another 4. So, yeah. big drains, and I have home one, so this game is pretty much over because I don't think he can oppose me. He really needs a ground for it. He needs like a Bear Saber or something. And of course, then I have dodge, so he would need sense. Something like that. Just a lot of drains. So we're going to try to retrieve 10. Power to him. Unfortunately, I drained for significantly more than 10 each turn, so. And this is going to be it. It's very hard not to grab two. You can also use these to grab like a, it could be worse if you time it correctly. And this is going to be it. So this is going to be GG. So here's another example game. So Red 5000 playing Carbon Chamber Testing. He doesn't really play this anymore. But this particular case, you know, the classic example of I have to give him Obi-Wan because I need Luke with a saber just in case. And I deployed here Mos Eisley because I think he was playing Carbon Chamber Testing for a while, and so I anticipated that starting AC would be a bad move. Generally speaking, one AC, but you know, if you know your opponent, you can try to deploy something else and guess. So I am trying to get Boshuda into my head once again as fast as possible. I do find my version of the AC, which is good for me. We can also use that to our advantage. I can use that to see that indeed Boshuda is there. And I guess I lose my force and I need to draw more. Could be worse. Getting search and destroy. You know, employ it, but there is one loop that in the modern Star Wars CCG PC era, if you have Boshuda, it's not a battleground. I guess that's not the modern way. It's been that way for a while. So not a battleground, therefore search and destroy goes away. And now I can enact my plan. My 4 strain bonuses are intact. And we can have fun. Yep, we are going to spread and drain like wildfire here. It's probably a little bit arrogant to deploy to the carbon chamber, but whatever. I guess I chose to. So I'll let him battle me. I'll let him die because I know I have a Ludix, and this is the battle where I want to use my dodge. And for him to, he doesn't have enough force to fight me and move. So get 2 cards in hand. That's nice. Now it's my turn to drain. And I can use the Cantina Shuffle here back and forth just to drain a lot. And my opponent's hurting. My opponent is hurting. Obviously, I'm not afraid of Monarch because I'm showing 50 million cards here. Maybe I should be more afraid, but you know, this deck is really fun when you choose not to be afraid and just let it be. And hope they don't have it. So this is going to hurt me. These could be worth for part of it. Dodge out of the way. Two more moisture farmers. Insta drawing, always fun. C4, therefore I know I can clear Mara Jade. And I do the right thing when I put the evaporator on here in the general way, so that will help. So yeah, I'll lose a couple of moisture farmers, but I will retain or regain control of the site. Start another battle. Make me lose one power, but I got a 4, so it ain't that bad. Deciding to move and try to block drains best as I can, but I have moisture farmers. We're going to be okay. And I opt not to battle this turn, and I guess that's the last straw for the opponent because he knows it's too frustrating to fight. So in that case, it's GG. So anyway, just as a recap, kind of two fun decks that really only work well in the Premier Duster 2 era. Really enjoyable. Just a lot of fun. Play these a lot. And you can try to play these too and enjoy yourself. So thank you all very much. Take care. Bye-bye.